Welcome back. In this section we're going to introduce subdivision surfaces and do some more work on detailing the head shape. Go ahead and exit out of Mesh Edit mode and let's begin our discussion on subdivision surfaces. Clicking on the Mesh Modifier's flyout, you can find the subdivision surface tools here. There are 4 icons: add a layer of subdivision surfaces, remove a layer of subdivision surfaces, and the tools for changing vertex weight and edge weight. Let's go ahead and add a layer of subdivision surfaces to the fish model. You can see that the density of our mesh has increased significantly. That's because subdivision surfaces is a mesh modifier which uses your low polygon mesh as an input for generating a higher polygon mesh via the Catmull-Clark interpolation method. Even with just the one layer of subdivision surfaces, we can see that the model is already much smoother and more rounded. Press Ctrl Z and let's undo the subdivision surfaces layer. To better visualize how subdivision surfaces, also known as SDS, works, let's create a simple cube in an empty spot in the scene and set the values to be square. Now with the cube selected, if we apply 2 layers of SDS to the cube, you will see that we get a sphere. This is a really important concept to remember when using SDS in TrueSpace. Because of the way TrueSpace handles subdivision surfaces, it's easier to think of the relationship between an SDS mesh and its control mesh as a circle inscribed within a square. For example, if we lengthen that square into a rectangle, the SDS mesh will become an oval shape. So the question that naturally follows is, how do I get the subdivided mesh to keep more of its original volume and shape? The answer is in how you place your geometry. Use the Remove Subdivision Surfaces icon to remove the 2 layers of subdivision surfaces. Next, let's use the Add Loop tool to add 3 loops to the mesh. 1 to the left, top, and right. Now right-click to exit the loop tool, and again to exit Point Edit mode. I'm going to quickly add an Object Render Attributes node to the cube so that the object will honor the global render settings that we set towards the beginning of the course. And like the fish, we'll be able to see its geometry when it's not in Mesh Edit mode. With that out of the way, let's add back the 2 layers of subdivision surface. You can now see that the top and sides have retained their shape much better than before, but that the bottom has still rounded out. Go ahead and remove the 2 layers of subdivision surfaces. Looking at the base mesh, we can see that having more geometry around the corners allows us to better maintain their shape. This makes sense, because in the real world there is no such thing as a perfectly sharp corner. To more accurately approximate a tight curve like the corner of a wall or a tabletop requires more geometry. This is important because having more geometry to define the tight curves that make up a corner will produce better highlights when lit, and also produce a more realistic image when rendered. In the fish model, you can see right away 2 places that I've used this approach so that the fish object will better retain its shape when subdivided. They are here around the eye, and also these slightly less tight loops going around the jaw. Let's go ahead and delete the cube object and apply what we've learned about subdivision surfaces to continue the detailing work for the fish's head. If you look at the template image, you can see that the top lip sort of bulges out. So let's add some geometry so that we can define and exaggerate this bulge slightly. Choose the Polydraw tool. Zoom up on the corner of the mouth. Start a cut at this edge here, and continue it around to the center line of the model. I want to get rid of the 2 triangles we just created, so select the 2 vertices here and let's weld them together using the Weld tool. We're going to do the same with these 2 over here. It may not be clear on the video, but here the selection tool has selected vertices on the back side of the model, something that we definitely don't want. So let's click on the Select Nearest Element icon. Now only the vertices on the visible surface of the model will be selected. With only those 2 vertices selected, let's again click the Weld icon. Let's look around the model real quick to get oriented, and then start pulling the vertices along the loop we just added down and in to define the bulge of the lip. With these vertices along the side, I want to pull them in a bit less since the lip will be less prominent here as it tapers into the side of the head. One of the helps in moving the view around when working is that it helps you spot things. Here I can see in the mirrored side that the corner vertex needs to be pulled in a bit more. The lip still needs more volume, so let's increase its vertical height at the center line, and then puff it out by pulling out the vertices of the lip. Don't forget to also update a couple of these other vertices on the head so that they better line up with the changes we've made to the lip. With that done, our fish has a nice cartoony fat upper lip just like in the drawing. But if we exit out of point edit mode and add a layer of SDS, we can see that the lip is smoothed away just like the edges of the cube were. So we need to add more geometry to define this shape. Undo the layer of SDS and reactivate the polydraw tool. Make a cut starting here at this vertex and continue it above the other cut we made earlier. Also, weld the vertices to remove the two triangles like we did before. Now right-click to go back out of Mesh Edit mode and re-add the SDS layer. You can see that the lip holds its shape much better now. We're going to end this video here and continue the discussion on SDS in the next video.